Hi everyone, here's another clip regarding the poster, so a part two. This time I'm going to talk through the creation process, so actually putting it together, the operational side of it, and then also chat through around the presentation process for this assessment. Okay, in terms of creating your poster, what I'm suggesting you do is to script and mock up a first draft. So, make some notes, pull out the key figures, graphs, or pictures you want to include, and you might do like a paper version first just to test out how all of those things should fit together and get that flow and the logical presentation happening. A few people have asked me about software. I have no preference about what you use. Someone's even suggested that there's an app that you can access online to help you pull it together. That's all fine. All I would say is the requirement is that you guys create this yourselves. So please don't use an assessment contracting service. Okay, it's about your creative product. So whatever you're using, use what you have access to. The same design principles that I've talked through in the previous clip and in this clip apply. So make sure that whatever you're using adheres to those kind of guidelines. What I would say here is that it may be a really great opportunity to find some time to upskill on something like Adobe Illustrator or another kind of technology. When, as I said in the previous video, when you're going out into your graduate positions, actually having skills in things like Adobe, WordPress, all those kind of softwares are actually really important and would make you a little bit more competitive when you're going for jobs. So just think, if you have a couple of hours, if you could do some online self-training, this might be a great opportunity to do that and also to complete your assessment as well. But it's not a requirement, okay? What I would suggest is once you pull together a first draft in whatever software you use, ask for some feedback, particularly for someone who has fresh eyes for your topic. So someone outside of class, maybe a mum, dad, brother, sister, good friend, someone that can give you some feedback, that they can talk you through how they've worked, how they've read through the logical process. If there's things that haven't made sense to them or a bit confusing, they can give you some really important feedback on that. As a ballpark, I would say be prepared to create 2 or 3 versions before you have your final, the version that you're happy with. Now, why is it worth spending time? There's a few points I've mapped out here. Okay, so remember, I have talked to my industry colleagues to say that we've got these great posters coming through, and is there a chance that we could kind of showcase these to industry in some way? Now, the best ones we will try and get in front of industry in some way, and I can talk to you a bit more about what that might look like. All I would say with that is, put your best foot forward, because if your poster is one of the ones that's selected to go forward, you never know where that kind of first impression can lead to. So whether it's a little consulting project you might pick up, there might be organisations out there looking for, a casual or part-time staff. If they see your work and they're happy with it, then you kind of get a foot in the door that way. The other side of it is that I really think you can think about this poster as being a really valuable artefact when we come to our e-portfolio. So if you're someone that's thinking, I don't really have much to include in an e-portfolio, this poster is one of those things, okay? So it shows your ability in terms of your research, your analytics, being able to synthesize information, pull together recommendations, and also, that visual communication. So you've already got 4 or 5 skills there that you can tick off and demonstrate through your poster. So it might be something you put in your e-portfolio. Some of you might even think about popping it in your LinkedIn profile too. Okay, so based on those 2 things, I think it's really worth spending some time to get this right. All right. Okay, the next thing I'm going to look at is the presentation process. So a few people have asked me what the actual presentation looks like. There is not a requirement that you will show up to class with a 2 or 3 minute prepared speech. Okay, the idea is that you'll come along to the workshop, make sure that you're coming to the one that you are enrolled in. You'll bring your printed poster, and it should be A3 size. So to make sure you've got no technical difficulties on the day, you might want to make sure that you get it printed out 1 or 2 days before the workshop. You'll come along. We're going to place these around the room up on the wall. I'm also going to have 2 pieces of paper for you to sit next to your poster. One of those will be a poster feedback sheet where you'll collect comments from from your classmates, and the other one will be a People's Choice voting card. So let me talk through this idea of feedback first. During the workshop, we're going to split into a couple of groups. One lot of you will take a turn to stand by your poster and field questions from the rest of the class as they walk around to have a look at the posters. So while I'm not expecting you to come along with a prepared speech, I do expect that you will be able to talk about your research when people are asking you questions, okay? Now, that process should be you guys being able to talk through your research and your key findings, your key recommendations. The rest of the class will be asking you questions. They're also going to be looking at what's some of those strengths in what you've put together, and also potentially some feedback on what they think that you could work on a little bit more to strengthen. Okay, so those comments will go down on your feedback sheet. Now it's up to you guys at the end of that session whether you take on that feedback, you want to update it in your written research report before you submit it, or maybe you just leave it. It's up to you, but I guess what I'm trying to emphasize here is the developmental approach to what we're putting together. Okay. Now, so you'll get the chance to stand by your poster and field questions, and then we'll also take turns so that you guys that were with your poster will also have the chance to walk around and have a look at other people's posters as well. So it's a real knowledge exchange experience, okay? And we're also actively contributing to each other's work in looking at, you know, letting people know what they've done really well, and also maybe coming up with some ideas for what they might hone in on or what they might think about a bit further as well, okay? Now, the next thing I've got there is the People's Choice voting. So I want us to be able to recognise when people have done really great work in our class, okay? Now, each of you are going to have one vote, so you'll have a little sticky dot that you can take around, and you can choose who you think has got the most impactful, creative, catching and informative poster. One vote each, you'll pop that on the person's voting card, and at the end of each workshop we will announce the People's Choice winner for that workshop. Okay, so something a little bit novelty, but I think really important that we can, yeah, acknowledge each other's work and who's doing some really good stuff in this space. Okay, so that brings me to the end of this clip, just some key things to finish up on. Think about if you're willing and able to invest some time in upskilling with software. Okay, some self-online training, like I said, for something like Adobe Illustrator might be worthwhile for you guys going out into industry looking for jobs. But I do not expect that you do this. So if you're a little bit time poor, maybe now is not the time and you just want to stick with something that you know, that's fine. Importantly, be prepared to draft more than one version of this poster before you have your final product. Okay, so do take a little bit of time, and I've outlined some reasons for why you would do that. And lastly, come to the workshop prepared to actively engage. Okay, this is a developmental experience for you guys, some knowledge sharing, also really important for you guys to be able to take on feedback from your peers, and also offer feedback as well. So there's some key skills when you go out into industries to be able to seek feedback, respond to it, and also give feedback. You know, how are you going to work in collaborative settings with other teammates to provide comments on, you know, letting people know when they've done something really well, and also being able to deliver that kind of feedback to make sure that we get better outcomes with what we're doing. All right, thanks guys, good luck, and let me know if you have any further questions.